to walk the high wire of life without a safety net, to follow something even bigger than my pride, to show up with courage even when I'm trembling inside.
Welcome again to Wild New Year. This morning I have with me practitioner Jeanette Bennis.
So Reverend Jenn, my question is, with everything that's happened at New Dawn, everything that's happening in the world, how do you maintain your faith in our source? What practices do you use to just keep that faith and keep yourself grounded in a way that you can continue to inspire us the way that you do?
I would say it's multifaceted. First of all, one of the ways that I maintain my faith is that I always reinforce my belief. I refuse to allow myself to go out there on a limb and get hysterical and freak out and get scared and get caught up in the conditions of the things that are going on around us. And that takes a lot of discipline, and some days I have it more so than others, but I'm always able to recognize it and reel myself back in. The other way is that I'm constantly praying, and not every second of every day, but I'm praying all the time, because in that prayer mode, I'm recognizing and realizing my connection in spirit and that power that's with me to get me through. And then the piece of the question about what are the spiritual practices I use, I do everything I can. And some days it's taking a walk as my spiritual practice, as a walking meditation. And some days it's dancing around the house to the music, cranked up as loud as it can be. Whatever it feels like my being needs in that moment, that's what I tap into. On a daily basis, prayer, meditation, journaling, all of these are a part of my daily practices. Thanks so much for that question, Jeanette. Please pray with me. There is a power that is greater than we are. It is a power for good, and we can tap into it anytime we choose. This power is God. It is the truth of our being. And so as we move into this time together right here and right now, let's just breathe that in, knowing that there's one God, one power, one presence, one light, permeating all life. And what I know for each and every one of us is that this power lives within us, this God Spirit lives within each of us, holding us sacred, holding us with the arms of the divine, guiding us, supporting us. And what I know for us today is whatever is going on in our worlds, whatever is going on in our personal lives, may we just let that go for a few moments and breathe into the space of being here. Knowing that we are blessed, knowing that we are connected, knowing that we are one with the divine. And in this place of perfection where we live with spirit, may we turn our attention to this time, opening up to new ideas and thoughts, opening up to these amazing teachings. I know each and every one who hears this message is blessed. I know all people everywhere are blessed. I know this time together is blessed by God. It is perfect and it is good. I simply let this go. I let it be. And so it is. I've been talking for the past few weeks about being present, being mindful, and being conscious. I know for many people all over the planet, when the new year kicks in, when we have that wonderful celebration on December 31st, and we turn our attention to what's coming forth, we create these wonderful things called resolutions. And the challenge that I've always found with resolutions is that it seems to be a perfect time for us to go into self-beat up and criticism about all the things we've ever done wrong and all of the things that do not work in our life, and we're going to fix them all, and we're going to fix them all this year. And what we start to do is we begin to project, and we talk about losing weight and maybe getting a better job or finding another home or relocating or doing some task, something that has been a part of our lives differently and better. And we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. And in this pressure, we begin to project. It is the 4th week of January, my friends. And my question to you is that working for you? Is that working for you to have that kind of pressure on yourself? Because we don't teach resolutions in the Science of Mind philosophy. We teach intention. Intention, if you even say the word, you can feel it in your body. It's more of a present moment mindset. Whereas a resolution leads us to believe that something's broken and needs to be fixed or repaired or adjusted. So let's look at the intentions we have for this year. My talk title today is Looking Ahead. So I've been talking about being here now, and now I'm going to talk about looking ahead. And this is where it can get a little tricky, because we want to be prepared and we want to plan for the future and the things that we want to create in our life that we haven't quite mastered just yet today. But again, we don't want to project and draw our attention and energy away from the present moment. So in looking ahead, what we're talking about is vision. And that's the spiritual practice I want to talk about today, is visioning. When we go into that space of visioning, we sit quietly and we ask questions about what Spirit has for us, how God sees us showing up, how God sees us in our contribution and to life and our own personal affairs. And in that place, we get these pictures, we get these ideas of things that we can do, of places we can shift, and they don't have to be monstrous. They can be just tiny baby steps of change. Ernest Holmes says this: unless we become the living embodiment of love and light, we shall have no justification in saying that God is love and light. So again, as we move through this time, as we move into this time of more practice, we must recognize and embrace the very idea that we are of God, that God is within us. Because otherwise we can use empty words and say all these wonderful things, but they don't touch us, they don't support us, they don't feed us, because we haven't embraced the actual pieces that we need to embrace that really serve us. Each one of us is becoming, constantly transforming and shifting and changing. Each one of us is doing this. And we want to continue this in a very positive way, knowing that we are creating and co-creating a world that works for everyone, every one of us. The question I have for you is, what contribution do you plan to make for 2021? What is the contribution you want to make to your own personal life, your personal relationships? What is the contribution you want to make to your spiritual community, to the greater community? Because that is an important place to begin, is to know what is mine to do or what is mine to be. There's a process we have done over the years, and it's called vision board planning. We've had gatherings where we get people together and we get poster boards and we cut out pictures in magazines, and we start the whole process with a vision. We all sit down and we vision together, and then whatever images come up for you, you can find those images in magazines and cut them out and paste them on a poster board. And we always recommend that you take that home. That's your vision for the year, and you want to reflect on that. We don't have the process in place or the ability to do something like that together this year, but you can certainly do that on your own. A lot of you are artsy, craftsy kind of people, and you can create this vision board. And if that doesn't work for you, I discovered something amazing. I guess I'm not really surprised by it because it seems like it's so logical and rational, but there are apps for vision board creation. And so you can go on your phone or on your computer and you can create online with an app a vision board with the images that come up for you when you take this time to contemplate and to ask questions about the year and what part you get to play. And then you can save it as a screensaver so that every time you sit down at your computer, there's your vision board, encouraging you, supporting you, guiding you. Because we need those visuals, we need those reminders to bring us back to remember what it is we're about and what it is we choose to do. It's a lot like planning a journey. I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember this, but back in the day, we used to get this big, huge map out and we'd throw it out across the kitchen table. And my dad would sit down with a marker and he'd draw out the direction we were going to go on our trip, and he'd even compute in his head where we might be at nightfall so we would know where we were going to stay for the night. Life takes a little bit of planning. We don't need to jump out there in front of it all and get worried and concerned and freak out, but we do need to have that vision to know where we're going, as individuals and as family units and as community members. So take a moment and consider the opportunities for you. What are the things that you want to bring into your awareness this year? What are the things that you'd like to do that maybe you haven't done in the past? What are the contributions for you? Bryant McGill says this: every journey begins with the first step of articulating the intention and then becoming the intention. I like that a lot, because what he's talking about is clarity. We pray for clarity all the time. I may have an idea of something I'm going to do or something I'm going to step into, and I don't quite have a clear picture. And I'm not sure of the how, because Spirit is in charge of the how, so we take that into our daily activities and our practices to become more clear, so we know where Spirit's leading us. So the first thing we want to do is take the time to uncover the idea, to vision, to become clear, and then meditate, and then take the steps. Take the steps that we need to take. I created a mission statement for myself back in the year 2000. And every time I am looking at some major project or some major process that could take a lot of time, I go back and reflect on how that aligns with my mission statement. And years ago, I had a friend whose heart was all about a fundraiser, and she had this beautiful process and this purpose, and she was putting together this big event, and she was bringing in musicians, and they were going to be at the Fine Arts Center, and it was just an incredible dream, and it was an incredible passion. And she wanted to bring me along because I'm good at speaking, and I'm good at talking to people, and I've got good energy, and whatever the other reasons were, she had all of these list of reasons as to why I needed to be a part of it. But when I looked at the actual context of what she was doing, it was going to take me out of alignment of my path for about 6 weeks. And I had to turn it down. So I want to remind you that each one of us is here. We each have a divine purpose. Many of us know what that is in our hearts. Don't circumvent that. Don't set that aside for something else. Stay on track. Keep that process, keep that mindset, keep that clarity that supports you in moving forward. When we do this, when we ground ourselves in the very essence of the message that we are, of the mission we are, of our entire life purpose, nothing can get in the way. No thing, no person can derail us from moving forward towards our dream, our idea, and our intention. I found a story that I want to share with you. It took place back in ancient India. And there was a man in in the story who was a thief. And he was born a thief. He was born into a family of thieves, and all they ever did was steal. They were thieves. It was what they knew. It's all he knew. All he knew was to be deceitful and to take away from others. And he came into the village one day, and he began to go about the business of who he was. And he began taking things, and someone caught him, someone observed him. And the village people got very upset. And so they grabbed stones and sticks, and they started chasing him and throwing rocks at him. And they chased him out of the village, and he ran into the jungle. And the jungle was so thick and so intense where he was at. And as he ran, the branches and were pulling at his clothes until soon he was running naked into the jungle. And he finally got to a place where he could take a deep breath, and it didn't sound like they were chasing him anymore. And he lay down on the ground, and he fell asleep. Now, at this same time, there were a group of spiritual seekers walking through the jungle. And what they knew and believed was that there was a guru that they were going to find in this particular part of the jungle that was going to teach them something, was going to show them something magnificent. And they carried with them all of their worthly valuables. They had gold, and they had all these amazing things, and they were carrying them with them. And they came to this naked man sleeping in the jungle. And they thought they'd found the guru. And so they quietly sat in a circle around this sleeping man, and they laid down all of their wonderful treasures, and they waited. And eventually he woke up. And when he woke up and he saw them, he knew he'd been caught. And he said, "Oh my gosh, you found me." And they said, "Thank God, we've been looking for you and searching for you for days." And he's sitting there and he's thinking, something doesn't quite feel right. And one of the speakers in the group said to him, "We have been seeking out the spiritual leader, the guru, who is going to teach us a beautiful meditation. And all of these gifts that we've brought are yours if you teach us." Well, he's looking around thinking, this is pretty cool. And again, all he knew was to take. So he said this to them. Here's what you got to do. God is up there, and you are down here. You have got to focus on bringing God down here so that you can see God, so that you can be with God, so you can experience God. And you can't do anything else but focus on pulling God down to earth to be with you. And as he's picking up all of the items and getting ready to leave, he says, "And you cannot leave this space until you accomplish this task." Well, they sat there and they thought, okay, well, let's meditate on that. And they began to meditate. And pretty soon, things began to get really disrupted in heaven. The angels began to chat among themselves, and the first level of heavenly spirits began to talk to the second level, and then the third level. And pretty soon, the news got all the way up to the lesser gods, and they said, we've got to do something about this. Because if this disturbs the Almighty, we're going to lose our jobs. So they all descended to earth to find out what in the world was this ruckus about these people meditating. And the people said to them, "You're not God. Go away. We're not going anywhere until God appears." Well, they went back up to heaven and they decided, well, guess we're going to have to talk to God. And so they went to God and they said, you know that little planet, that planet Earth? Well, there's a group of people down there in a jungle, and they are prepared to bring heaven down to earth because the meditation that they are doing is so powerful. And they're saying that they're not going to stop. And we're going to all get sucked down there unless you appear. And God said, well, let's go check it out. Let's go see what they want. And so God Almighty appeared before these people. So what was the story about? Belief, intention. The people found that the guru that they had found was perfect for them, who brought forth the perfect meditation, who gave them the reality, the experience that they wanted to have to meet God face to face. The belief system was a big part of this. The reason I chose this story is because sometimes we think that if it didn't come through the right path, if the information for us didn't come from the right channel, that it wasn't ours to hear, it wasn't ours to react to. And I'm here to tell you that when you set the intention for something to come forth, and when you look ahead and you vision and you allow all of those components to come together, it doesn't matter what started it. It doesn't matter where it came from. What matters is your trust, your intention, and your belief. Wayne Dyer says this: by banishing doubt and trusting your intuitive feelings, you clear a space for the power of intention to flow through. All we have to do is move doubt out of the way. Those spiritual seekers in that jungle never doubted for a second that they were given the right methodology of how to connect with God. Let go of doubt. Trust our intuition. So many times in our lives we've been told not to trust it because someone didn't want us to believe the truth of our being. Take time, practice. Take time, meditate, and vision. All of this is about the very idea of self-awareness, who we are and how we are. We've been talking about practice, being conscious, being aware, tuning into the vision and allowing the beautiful voice of Spirit to guide us. This, my friends, will be what supports you in creating the best year yet, 2021. Please pray with me. As I breathe into this space, into this time, I'm reminded of the power and the presence of God that's here. I can look out my window and see the beautiful blue sky, the clouds, hear the noise of the traffic, hear the sound of the breeze, and I know that God is in all of this. And I know for each and every one of us that we find comfort, we find connection in that knowing that God lives within us, surrounds us, and fills us. And this week, today, we allow ourselves to be guided. We allow ourselves to be guided in how it is we get to show up in our power, in our glory, in our truth, in our love, and how we get to create this amazing year. How beautiful this is, how perfect it is. So we can just relax into this now moment, knowing that God has got this, God has got us, God is guiding. Everything is unfolding in absolute perfection. It just gets better and better. And we give thanks for this. We give thanks for Spirit in all things. We give thanks for the very ability to speak to God and connect with God in our consciousness and our awareness. We give thanks for the words and the language that come forth for us. And we give thanks for this time and opportunity to connect, to be together in the virtual world. I know it's blessed and perfect. I know it's good. I simply let it go and let it be. And so it is.
To let go of regret, to walk the highway of life without a safety net, to follow something even bigger than my pride, to show up with courage even when I